Who do you trust? How do you trust? I mean, today everything's coming at us in multiple levels. Who's right? Who's wrong? Is it the economy? Is it the interest rates? Is it the government? Is it businesses? AI? Who do you trust? And today, more than ever, trust is going to be the most potent currency and the most potent economy. We're constantly inundated on a daily basis of information. You're going to get everybody who's anybody telling you this is misinformation, this is good information, this is trusted information. And I don't know anymore. I don't know how anyone gets through this process about who to trust. Here's what I can tell you. When you do trust someone, you stay loyal, and in that loyalty creates strength. And strength creates a raving fan or somebody who loves your business or loves the way they were treated. The customer experience builds trust. From start to finish, most of us don't recognize that walking into a bank and dealing with the person who's maybe the bank teller, and if I'm not using the right word, I'm sorry, but that first contact represents the entire bank. That first person, that first impact point. Is it an ad they see on social media? Is it an email they received? Is it the fact that they saw one of your Google videos or YouTube videos? My apologies, kids. But it's the fact that there isn't enough companies. There are not enough companies building enough trust. It's kind of interesting because in the world of business and sales, there are 3 steps to every sale. Number 1 and number 3, most people know. Number 1 is you find somebody's need. You find the need of what they are looking for. You're going to hear some people say, look for their pain point, look and address the pain point and connect with the pain point. Yep, that is 100% true. But number 3 is you fill that need. You take away the pain. You increase the pleasure. But most companies leave out the middle one. And the middle one is the most important ever. And it's if you don't trust them or you don't like them, because like equals trust in some cases, then you're not going to do business with them. I mean, think about it. Think about the last time that you bought something of significance. And I'm not talking about the grocery store. I'm not talking about a little clothing store, going to Costco. I'm talking about somebody you had to interact with to buy something. And if you didn't like them, that turned into you didn't trust them, then did you actually buy it? And the only reason you would do that is because you needed it more than you'd liked them or disliked them. In most cases, you're going to think to yourself, thank you very much. I'm going to go off to somewhere else and check this out. And you'll buy from somebody that trusts or like. This person could have done all the heavy lifting. The ad could have done all the heavy lifting. The messaging could have done all the heavy lifting. But if there's one thing that we understand as humans, if I don't trust you, I don't want to give you my money because I worked hard for my money. And that layering is how we actually react as humans. And today, imagine, if you will, all the SEO, all the keyword searches that people have spent hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to get positioned. It wasn't about trust. It was about positioning. It's about gaming the system. Now, you've heard me say that in different places, and if you haven't, they're in different videos. But I don't want to lose the fact, and I want to be very strong in the fact that if you're not paying attention to how people respond, then you're going to have a short-lived business, a product or service. Doesn't matter how good it is. That trust can be eroded in news articles, can be eroded in the fraction of a second. And what people don't recognize, our human nature factor is to listen to a conversation and look for the breach in the conversation, not all the good points. The good points we expect. We expect good people to say good things. We expect that businesses do what they say they're going to do. We expect that the product does what it says it's going to do. And there's not a person alive who hasn't bought something and taken the cheap route, meaning they bought something because the price was better or they thought they got a better deal. They didn't buy the one they should have bought, but they got the one because they wanted to save money. And the irony of that is always the fact that at some point later on, either that product doesn't hold its weight, doesn't do what it's supposed to do, or ends up breaking or not working the way it was supposed to. And then the person goes and buys the product again. And the irony of that is the fact that they usually end up spending the amount of money they would have spent the first time getting the right thing. And my grandfather, my pop, used to say, if you're going to do something, you do it right the first time. And if there's any advice that any entrepreneur can give to an entrepreneur, is do it right the first time. Build the trust. Because in that trust, every person has a circle of influence of 10, 20, 100, 500 people. Why do you think influencers are so powerful online? Because influencers have a circle of trust. And if they say, hey, I just used this product, you should all try it, well, you know, two things are happening. Number one, either they really believe that, or number two, they're getting paid or getting compensation for saying it. And we all know it. But there's that human nature factor that goes, hey, I kind of trust them, I follow them, I listen to everything that they're saying, right? So as a result, we don't recognize enough that influencers are the people who walk into the store, didn't get treated right, and walked out and told 10 people right after they left. Their circle. How we get information about what restaurants to go to, what movies to see. You ever noticed how when you buy a car, nobody ever decides to pay a car cash in full? I'm not saying there's some of you out there that don't pay cash for a car. I'm saying that they break it down in little chunks. They say every 2 weeks it's going to cost you X amount of dollars, $422, $350, whatever the number is, because that's easier and it's more trustworthy than spending $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 on a vehicle. But it's easy. These are systems. These are sales systems that companies have put into place. And they use psychology constantly to try to build trust. But here's the one thing nobody really understands till it's too late. The minute trust is eroded, how hard is it to get back? Well, your business is a fraction of a second. The internet is a fraction of a second. If you're not on the first page of Google, it's a fraction of a second. And that fraction of a second could cost you exceptional amounts of money. So what do we do with that? The way you build trust today, the way AI is going to look for you, the way things are going to happen now and in the future, whenever you're watching this, even if you're watching this 5 or 10 years from now, please call me out to see if I was right or wrong. But every indicator shows us today in our company that trust will be one of the most important currencies. One of the people I follow diligently, his name is Gary Vee, and he talks about attention being a currency, which is absolutely right. Because if you can't get the attention, you can't get to the message. You can't get to the message, you can't get to the offer. You can't get to the offer, you can't give someone a reason to buy from you. But along with that comes the trust. And that man's a genius. I love watching him. It's that moment where if you put everything together, it's going back to old school where everyone knew each other in the general store, from the town, from the city, and they were just going to buy because that's where it was. Now, the revolution and evolution of everything that we have today is the fact that AI is going to tell us what to look for, who to ask, who's got that trust. Now, some of it's absolutely 100% accurate and true. Some of it is truth being represented as truth, but not necessarily true. So you will have to do some work on that. You're going to have to figure out and do a little more deep diving. But most of us are surface. Most of us take the first thing that we see. That's why Google works so well. On the first page, how many times you go to the second, third, fifth page to find the company on the seventh page that offers the thing you're looking for? No. We're instantaneous gratification people. And that's why we have microwaves. It's why we have cars. It's why we have evolution. It's why we have AI. And in that beautiful piece of AI, you'll find that I do believe at some point we're going to get a bit of the human touch back, because AI will look for things the way humans do, because AI was created by humans. Doesn't mean it's not going to take off and run by itself. Doesn't mean it's not going to be smarter than us. But I do know this. For the current time being, when you build a business and you've spent time to build a business, one of the great things that my partner Lachlan said the other day, he just said, be better, be a better business, and you'll have the ability to have people trust you. And it is so simple. In his eyes and his ears and his words resonated at a massive scale. Why? Because it's true. And the coolest thing is, whatever's true will always be true. You ever noticed you can't lie about the truth? People ask you things, the things you make up, you try to figure out what you're trying to say, and you have to remember the lie. And I'm not the only person to ever say these things, but I do want you to understand that truth in advertising very rarely exists. Truth in experience does. So your customer, when they say customer's always right, the customer's always valued. They may not always be right, but their value of what they do believe is basically important. And when they trust you, they'll tell people. When they don't trust you, they'll tell people. Your function, your job, your ability today is to be the business that can be trusted, because that is how the influence is going to happen. That is how customers will find you. That is how people who no longer use traditional forms of SEO or keywords or Google searches, for lack of a better phrase, because Google became a verb, right? Is the fact that when you ask your AI companion what to do for this situation, eventually they'll be doing it for you. They'll just say, would you like me to make that call? Like me to do? Those are all coming. They're all real. And by the way, if this is later than that, yes, they are. But for now, for right now, be as present as you can be. Be as content-driven as you can be as truthful as you can be in your advertising and marketing. Get people to talk about you in the way you want them to talk about you, in that positive switch. See if you can get more testimonials, more reviews, more ability to have people say things, because that'll never going to change. It's never going to change, right? Because we trust others and we take third-party information more than we take our own. So every person expects you to say good things about your business. Every person expects you to say good things about your product or your service. What they don't always expect is to have other people say it about you. So when you combine the two, when you put lots of content, when you lead, and I cannot stress this enough, when you lead with value, when you give something of value first, you have a chance. You have a chance to be trusted. You have a chance to be liked. And therefore, you'll be able to find the need and fill the need. And in doing so, fulfill your own purpose as a business, product, or service. Because what's the point of having a business? What's the whole idea? You want to be able to basically take control of your own outcome, your own destiny, using a product or service you hope helps other people do their business. And in that, there's trust. So don't erode it, because it's hard to get back, but build it as strong as you can. And if you want to know what proof in the pudding is, our whole model to give away a blueprint is about the trust. What would happen if someone actually gave you a blueprint that is laid out to show you exactly how to build everything we just talked about? It doesn't cost you anything. Now, the first thing is too good to be true, right? What's the catch? Every great person says it. I would say it. But it's not about that. What happens if you lead with trust? What happens if you lead with value? What happens if you lead? And in doing so, we're not just telling you what to do, we're showing you how we build our own business. And in doing so, we have the proof in the pudding. Our clients absolutely love that we lead with trust. And in leading with trust, builds value. With value, you create customers for life. And that's a price you can't put on anything. So if you're interested, click below. Love to do one for you. If not, forget it. But don't hesitate to build the trust, because it's the new currency.